Hey guys, welcome back to Silver Valley. In today's episode, I'll be adding a riverboat landing with a riverboat, a Indian village, and a drawbridge to cross the river. So the first things first, to figure out my shape and structure of the riverboat landing. So usually the technique to go for is usually adding the roofs first, kind of like just mess around and play with roofing. Because I've been hearing that a lot of people, other builders have it's hard to figure out what your building's going to look like and figure out where your placement of roofing goes. So the best technique I think I know best too is just place the roof first sometimes. I've seen a lot of other builders do this before too. I'm not the only one. So I think that's the easiest way to kind of combat that issue of putting down roofs. So I just kind of place it down, hovering, figure out what the style will look like, and then build from there. This building is heavily inspired by the riverboat landing at Disneyland in Frontierland, and I was looking at that building and some pictures, and they had some brick pillar foundations for all the pillars, and so I felt like I needed to build some new props to kind of imitate that style. So I took the brick detail corners, and with Construction Anarchy I can make them kind of in a cube, and then voila, I have a brick pillar now to support my roof. And I just kind of copied that in Blueprint and just plopped it down in all the corners that I needed it. So I think this technique looks really cool. It's interesting as you build like new stuff where you change themes, you actually start inventing new pieces. And that's the really cool thing about Parkitect and or Planet Coaster, even like RCT and RCT Open. You want to try to imitate something, you kind of have to invent your own way of building it. And then you have a new prop, and it's actually a cool way to go. So this is kind of the way here too. This building was not really like that crazily to work on. I just kind of copied the one from Disneyland. And then I disdained the roof to give it some more weathered look, because it's been outside. Nothing like crazy. Again, some of this stuff is like second nature to me, kind of just doing all this detailing work, and sometimes it's boring. I don't know if it's boring. Sometimes it's boring. I don't know, I'm just kind of rambling, thinking out loud. So on to building the boat next very soon. So the steamboat or riverboat, whatever which way you want to call it, because they have different names apparently. This is the second riverboat I've constructed. The first one I built was back in 2017. It's on the workshop. It's a very old build. And it's so funny to go back to my old blueprints and look at how I built those before and then compare to the ones I built today. And you can see there's a drastic improvement from building techniques and or style, and it's really like a refreshing thing to look at once in a while. And so this boat has some improvements because we have new pieces to play with. Back then, the steamboat that I made in 2017, its smokestacks and funnels were made out of pillars, not shapes, because we didn't have them back in 2017. So it was nice to kind of build this up in 2020, and it's like, it looks, I think this is like a really well done built boat. You'll see a more detailed view of the boat later, and when we do like a live feed or a live view. And I'll show you some close-ups of the boat later. But I had fun building this boat. I want to maybe make this a separate blueprint as well, so if you guys are building a western place or something, you guys can use this as your boat or something and prop, and I'm probably going to do that too. As usual, I put down a lot of blueprints. So, for here, I'm just going to start working on the smokestacks that are connected to the boiler, which is at the bottom of the boat toward the stern. I think that's right. I don't know my boat terms because I'm not a boat guy. I build boats. I copy boats, actually. I don't know, but there's a boiler, and then the pistons are in the back of the boat for your stern wheel, so your paddle boat or your paddle wheel, and then go from there. Originally, through designing and thinking about putting the boat in, I was going to make a different style of boat because there's two different styles of river boats. There's the riverboat with the paddle wheel in the back, or a paddle wheel in the center or the side of the boat. I was going to maybe do the side one to make it look interesting and unique, but I buckled and then just went for a more casual, generic paddle boat like the Mark Twain. So the only difference with this boat versus my first blueprint that I made was that with my first blueprint I made the paddle wheels out of giant gears. I made them at the full size, and they were spinning and turning, and I colored them red. They were cute, it worked. But for this style, I wanted to kind of push myself on making my own paddle wheel out of shapes and pieces, so that's kind of what I did here. I want to go for the gear route because that's kind of copying out, I think. The little other differences and subtles from this build and the other one is that I added actual bottom with shapes and some semicircles to give it some more realism. And then, well, the smokestack again are made of shapes, so that's a better thing for that. All in all, this boat looks just better, just significantly better. I do enjoy how it looks actually, and how it does represents a riverboat. And yeah, I might build other riverboats in the future. Again, as usual, I've done pirate ships now, riverboats. What else could I build? Fishing boats. I can build other things like that. I don't know. I can build a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, I've been just building props lately. Like recently I made a covered wagon, and that's on my channel as a build guide. If you guys want to go look at that, you can. So I made a wagon on my spare time. Actually, I have tons of spare time. What am I talking about? So here I'm trying to figure out to build like the mechanism that's connected to the piston boxes that would turn this paddle wheel. Technically speaking, that's how it would work. See, when you're building props like this and you're using props that are not intended to move, because none of these are supposed to move. I'm supposed to imagine it moving. So using your imagination when building helps. In my case it does, because I just think about if this is here and this is here, and if I imagine it moving, would this feasibly work? And it kind of does, and kind of not, because again, it's a game. It's supposed to look nice, not functional. So I kind of was just messing around with how to make a piston, then to make a piston box. Nothing detailed because you won't see it from this angle unless you have the 3D mod in, but I don't have it because I like the game's view pretty nicely. Here I'm putting in the exhaust stacks for the piston boxes, and then figuring out how to build the actual paddle. The paddle was easy to put, well, not easy, it was just kind of, I wanted to use different pieces besides just using borders or shapes, but I think this worked out actually pretty well. It looks like a paddle wheel from a distance. And I didn't put all the paddle parts in because you don't need to see it because it's hidden behind the other side of the boat. These are cross beams to help support it, technically speaking, if it was real. So it's just kind of taking real details from the actual boat and just kind of importing it in like in Parkitect, just kind of just doing that. The smokestack was a difficult part to succeed on because the Mark Twain riverboat has like this triangle flange design on the top of the stack. They look like crowns, and so I had a hard time figuring out how to imitate that, but I did figure a way to finally do it with the new text signs that we got, because you can make shapes from those if you use like some of the different keys on your keyboard. I don't know what the key is that I'm trying to extract. Well, I'll look at it in the live view of the boat close up. I'll show you all that stuff. And yeah, let's quickly go on to the live view then. Okay, here we are in the live view, and here's my wonderful riverboat. I don't have a name for it yet. I will think of a name, or you guys can think of a name. I don't know yet, but here it is, the final version of the boat. And so I was explaining earlier about the tops of the smokestack. So I took the text signs and made these triangle. I don't know what key that is. It's above this 6 key on my keyboard. So I used that, and this I think looks really good on how that should look, and I think this actually pulls off pretty well. I just noticed something on my roof. My roof is wrong over here. This is not supposed to be this type of roof. Look at that. Improv of building right here. It's okay. Oh, no! Oh my goodness. Build, build, build. There we go. Fixed it. So here's the riverboat across the way. And then I built a break room for my employees on this side to give it some more structure. I felt like this building was by itself and alone. I made some kind of like an American flag, kind of just kind of testing out pieces again as usual, and then I decorated the flags on the ship, and then some props and things, and I don't know, just kind of messing around. But I think this boat looks really cool, and it fits pretty well in my western area. The next thing that's going to be up, and we're going to go back into a time lapse of me working on this, and then a time lapse on working on my TP Indian village. So let's get on to more time lapse. Okay, on to building the drawbridge. Drawbridge bridge to go across the river. So the first thing I didn't want to do was build a tunnel underneath the river, because I also want to make this thing realistic as well. So I went for like a Dutch styled like drawbridge, because I looked at some different drawbridges on Google, and I stumbled upon what the Dutch use for their, because they have tons of rivers in Holland, I think. I'm not really sure. I've never been, so again, I kind of was just imitating that kind of, and I also made it like I don't think this would be realistically in a western river town. I don't know, but I liked it because it kind of made it more western, or more like they use wooden beams and stuff. So kind of was the idea here, just kind of imitate that. I liked it. It looked good. So here I'm figuring out the cross beam here, and then there's supposed to be like two wooden beams go across on top like this, and then cables will go down toward the walkway to simulate that it would separate. That's why I put the borders down to kind of simulate where the slice would be of the bridge. And so this drawbridge will go up, the boat will go by, and then the drawbridge will go down. This bridge, I could have designed it to be a little bit longer, but again, it doesn't have to be that realistic. Again, I'm trying to give you that impression that this is it's movable, but it's not. It doesn't move, it doesn't do anything mechanical, it's just kind of there. It's an interesting point too, because I feel like when you build bridges across rivers or oceans or something, you should decorate it some sort to make it look realistic. So it's kind of the idea here. Nothing like crazy, I don't know. Again, I keep using the word crazy. I shouldn't be using that word. I've been using it too much. So some detailing would be I use the cable pieces from the detail section. That's a sci-fi kit set. I like using the cables a lot. They're very good at skinny pieces, and they're not as intrusive as the border pieces, because borders can't be any smaller than that. I only made one side first and then blueprinted it over. Again, blueprinting always saves you a bunch of time in some builds. So it's always a good idea to kind of keep that in mind while you're building. Here I'm trying to experiment on different cables. So I was trying to use the licorice candy cane candy pillar, too big, so I just went for a normal side pillar. Nothing inventive. I was going to make my own cable, but that would have been too much of my time wasted, I think, or just to look realistic. I was going to do like make chain links out of like shapes, but I didn't want to go that far and go into detail. I might do that for other builds if it comes to that. Like if I'm building something medieval or something that requires chains, I'll do that. But I was going to do it for this build because sometimes I feel like I should like go overboard on detailing on something, but sometimes it's actually better to go simplified, and it brings out your whatever you're building out if it's more simple than more complicated. Again, you don't want to complicate things too much. So there's my quick bridge that goes across the river, and I did some detailing on the side to kind of finish up some places. Here I finally made a logo for Silver Eagle Mining Company. So this was a very simple logo to make an eagle face. I didn't want to make it overly complicated. Again, I want to just make it simple and give that impression of it's an eagle. And this actually worked out to be great to put on the side of the tower here of the station. Kind of just gives you that idea, like, oh, there's the symbol, and it was big enough so I can mess around with, because the piece that I used for the beak is from the new adventure pack, and that's not rescalable. So at that point, I'm already stuck at being at one scale, and I think this worked out actually really fine. I think it looks really cool as a symbol for the mining company. It's like an evil-looking, angry eagle, and just imagine that being on TNT boxes or something, or on their mine carts and boxes of supplies that were being sent. So that was kind of the cool idea to kind of do this. And again, with me and the custom signs now, I've been in this kick. I'm probably going to continue on this kick of making custom signs. They've been fun to do. If you guys want a tutorial on custom signs, I'm not sure how I would make a tutorial on that, but if you want one, just leave maybe a comment in the comment section, maybe. On to building the Indian village that I already had planned in my head. I just didn't have a place for it. So I finally placed it on top of one of the mesas that I built in the beginning of this build. So this is off to the, depending on what side you're looking on, left or right hand side. So this is the one that's closest to the half loop of the wing coaster. So this is kind of where I put the Indian village. Nothing, well, no. Indian villages I've built once before on another build. It was a wooden coaster build called Red Rock Stagecoach. That's exactly the name it was. I forgot what it was named in the last episode. Now I remember, because I went back and looked for it. So this is just cone pieces, some cylinder pieces to simulate like the cloth is being pulled up, so it's a doorway, and then a cylinder that's painted black to simulate that's inside and dark, and then a couple of campfires, and then some logs for them to sit at. It's nothing like super detailed, but this one, I don't know, just building this was interesting, because I was trying to figure out different ways to make the sticks come out on the top of the teepees. So those are borders. I wish we had borders that were higher in degree than what we have. We have it at half tile and full tile and nothing else. We don't have it at like 2 tile. And what I needed to add was also a totem pole, not a teepee, it's a totem pole to my village. And I felt like it should have an eagle on it. So that's apparently my theme throughout this entire build is eagles, because the coaster looks like an eagle. I don't know, that's kind of the common thread I put together. So I just made a simple eagle thing, and then a TP. Not TP, oh my god, it's a totem pole. Come on, Astro, it's a totem pole. Got it. So, nothing, just playing with shapes, experimenting, and it kind of fits the style of the game. Again, it's a very wonky looking head, and then wings coming out. I could have made the wings skinnier looking, or maybe more like pointed up, but at this point it was late. I was getting kind of bored, and I kind of wanted to finish up a little bit, so me rushing a little bit kind of made it look, in my opinion, ugly. Because again, I rate my stuff pretty highly when I build stuff, and I don't know, it's just my critique on my own stuff is somewhat too harsh than other people's. So the eyes on this guy was kind of just a messing around with shapes and sizes and kind of giving that round white look. So I made like black eyes with white pupils and then a white outlining around the black. And then I added 2 more faces at the bottom to give it that Indian look or something. I don't know. It was just kind of weird. So this is the Indian village so far, and I'm going to wrap it up here. In the next episode, will probably be on some more mesa work and another mine that I built. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.